Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Covenant Army Podcast, where our mission is to equip couples to align with God and win the daily battle, racing against marriage and family. I am Brent, and I'm here with my super awesome, wonderful wife, Miss Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
See? Super excited. I couldn't even contain myself today. Things were just happening all over the place.
Yeah, things were definitely happening.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you guys want to know what's happening, you're going to have to watch the video on YouTube to get the behind the scenes, because you'll have no clue why my wife is busting out laughing, because my whole job in life is to make her laugh and smile and have fun. That's what I bring to the party.
Yes, you do. Bring lots
You're the straight guy, and I'm the funny guy.
Sure, except that I'm a girl, but okay.
I don't mean that like, sexist. It's literally, what the heck. Anyway, so today, guys, great topic. I think we're going to get a lot of comments on this one, and probably within the podcast itself.
Right.
10 flags to watch out for before you get married, or even dating. Right? It goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
Because I think you should be looking for these red flags while you're dating.
Correct.
Before you get married.
Right.
How many people do we hear that gets into relationships and I never knew?
I think some people ignore. When you're in that stage of being completely infatuated with a person when you're dating?
Infatuation.
Yeah, you don't see certain things. Or you just fail to see them. You fail to notice them because that's not what you're focused on.
Rose-colored glasses, my friend.
Yeah, you're not focused on looking for red flags unless you have been burnt one too many times, and then you go into every relationship looking for red flags first.
Well,
which can be a whole nother unhealthy thing in itself.
Yeah, there's definitely two ways you can approach it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a wise way to do it as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, because who wants to get married and get into this relationship and just hit a whole bunch of speed bumps? I mean, wouldn't it be better to handle this stuff on the front side instead of avoiding what you're going to have to deal with while you're in the marriage?
Well, for sure, you need to look for certain red flags. I understand. Not that you're not going to hit some speed bumps when you are in the marriage.
Well, there's a lot of things that you can address prior to if you
Correct.
know what to look out for.
Which is why we recommend to people to get premarital counseling.
That's right.
Like, that will definitely help people understand. All right, we need to talk about some things before we continue to move forward.
And that's a great point. Like, premarital counseling does help
yes.
bring up some of these things to notice them prior to saying, I do. And again, not saying you can't handle stuff after you've been married.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sometimes easier to handle it prior to.
Correct.
So, 10 red flags to watch out for. It's almost like we're going into a football game. We're going to start with little referee things.
I was going to bring a red flag in.
Were you? You have a red flag?
I don't have a red flag. I could have made one, though.
I know you could have. Maybe you're crafty like that. So, 10 red flags. Start off with the first red flag. What's one of the first things we should be looking for if we're dating someone and we're thinking about getting married?
Okay, so this first one, I think everybody feels like this at some point when you first start dating somebody. For the most part, a lot of people, I'm going to say a large percentage of people feel this one.
Yep.
They're too good to be true.
Ooh.
Say no.
Well, come on. If they weren't that good, would you want to be with them?
Exactly my point.
So you're looking for too good.
So could this be, realistically speaking, would you call this a red flag?
Well, as it describes it here, I say yes. Because they're talking about some clues to watch out for under this too good to be true.
Okay, so I understand the whole exaggeration of their positives.
They're putting up their best. They're putting up the best game, man. They're dressing it up nice. They're cleaning up the car. Like, they're picking you up. They got their hair. Well, if I had hair, it'd be all nice and, positioned properly. I'm smelling good. I'm looking good. I've got the, all the little trinkets and the stuff. Do people still do this, or is it just me old school?
I don't know what you're talking about right now.
I'm talking about flowers. I'm talking about something to woo you.
I would hope people are still doing
like I'm putting on, I don't know, because we hear a lot of crazy stuff nowadays.
Jeesh.
Like, dating is not what dating used to be.
We're going to bring it back.
Okay. But the point was, they try to cover up everything negative about themselves.
Oof.
So they're not really being authentic, per se. And I get it. Like, you don't
They're
want
not
people...
being their authentic self.
I'm not going to say that. But what I'm saying is, they put on a really good act. We don't get angry. We don't get upset. The milk gets spilled. Oh, my gosh. Look how horrible
But everybody
that is.
does that, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, everybody.
But
how many people that have gone on a first date and all hell has broken loose on that first date, and then they come back with like a...
I've never been on a date like that. I don't know. I mean,
scary stories.
You've had some? You can't remember that far back.
No, I remember one specifically.
Okay, well, share.
Because I did the whole online dating thing for a second.
Okay.
Because that's how we met.
Wait a minute, they had computers back then?
We had computers. We met there. Before I met you.
Yes.
I specifically remember 2 guys that one of them we didn't even make it to the date.
Okay.
The first one that I want to mention is one that did not look, both of these didn't look at all what they portrayed online.
Well, that's a big red flag.
Yeah, that's the first lie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first guy, he was talking about marriage, like that I was like the woman that he wanted to marry, like, and we hadn't even had a full conversation.
Red flag.
So I was like, oh, Lord. And then when I wanted to leave, and thank goodness.
He locked the door and he wouldn't let you out?
No. I went in my car and like, hold on. Yeah. I don't know why, this is.
Idiotic.
Yeah. That he had parked really far, but we were in a big public place, which was why it was safe. And I offered to give him a ride to his car.
Have you seen some 2020? I don't know if any places.
Listen,
I'm
again,
just saying.
this was many moons ago.
Red flag.
So then I drove him to his car and he didn't want to get out of my car. So I was like, kind of low key freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was one. And then the other one, why we didn't even go to the date is because he definitely wasn't the person he portrayed online. Like he didn't look at all. Literally, I think his picture was from high school.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah. And I know people are probably going to think, wow, that's really shallow. Like, no. Like, come on now. If you're lying about just that, what else could you be lying about?
Weird.
So literally I saw him and I was like, oh, dude, I'm sorry. I got to go. I got an emergency. And I was out.
That makes sense.
So
this is what a part says under this too. Like, date people who show you they're real and honest. Genuine. Like, you can tell people when they're being honest and genuine. Like, you need to get really good at, like, deciphering the messages that are coming through.
Well, I think that's why I liked you a lot on our first date.
Okay.
Because you were obviously who you were online. Like, your face was the same.
That's good.
So I knew when I saw you.
Well, I knew I couldn't do my high school picture because I definitely didn't look like that anymore. I had hair and, all that good stuff.
Well, you did have hair when I first met you, but it was.
Yeah, but nothing like.
It was little bitty, but not like
Wow.
when you were in high school.
Yes.
So, yeah, like, and when we had the conversation.
I was real with you because obviously I wanted to do this relationship differently.
Right.
So I wanted to be open and honest with you. And trust me, it's a little scary to do that. But in the long run, it was the best thing that could happen.
But I felt that. I felt that genuineness within our conversation. It was what, 2 hours? 2.5 hours?
It was a good time. Yeah.
So we had dinner and we had great conversation. It was like, since I was done with the crazies, like
it was refreshing to have.
I wasn't messing around. I'm like, nuh-uh, like, let's be real and let's talk about real stuff. And I felt that it was a very genuine conversation.
It all went well, and here we are 17 years later.
And here we are.
Super happy in love.
Yes.
Thank God. Number 2, read the second point there, baby.
They consume vast quantities of something.
What do you mean by that?
They're addicted to some kind of substance.
It says avoid dating people who are trapped in addiction. And this is a interesting one that I didn't think of off the top of my mind, but it's very good as you think about it. Notice in any activity, substance, object, or behavior that is controlling a person's life that can be an addiction. I think this is a good one because I think a lot of people, we're not really looking for this when we're first getting together. I don't think so. Maybe women are. I know I wasn't. Because you could be so enamored with what's standing in front of you, you can miss some of the stuff or some of the clues that are really there right smack down in front of you. Let's say we're going out and let's say we're having a couple drinks and that person is overly drinking in those moments, in those times. That's something you got to watch out for because that could be a sign the person may have an alcohol addiction.
Right.
It could be. I'm not saying it is, but it's something to be aware of.
And this is not even just talking about substance abuse.
Okay.
Because there's other things that a person can be addicted to.
How about addicted to work?
Addicted to work. Addicted to
sports. Football.
Addicted to video games. Like all they want to do is play video games.
That's a good one.
Like, I don't understand that in a grown man's life, but you know what? To each their own. And I'm not saying like somebody can't just play a game here and there. Like you know.
I love to play hide and seek all the
it
time.
was- Moving on.
Yes.
But there are other, like, somebody's addicted to money.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Addicted to shopping. You got a shopping addiction.
Yeah.
You're addicted to just being with your kids. Like that kid-centered home that you're like super addicted to. Oh no, we got to do something with the kids.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to look out for.
Well, the point is like if they're addicted to this prior to getting married, chances are you're going to have to deal with this once you're in your marriage.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, don't deny it. Like recognize for what it is. And again, it's about setting up a game plan to help curb those addictive personality traits prior to. Okay. So number 3 says, I like this one because this is interesting. They always have to get their way.
Yeah.
If you're dating someone who's demanding, angry, controlling, and always has to get their way, be careful. Think about that. If someone has that kind of personality when you're dating, what do you think they're going to be like once you say I do? You think it's all going to go away on the wedding day? Probably not. Chances are it's probably going to get magnified.
Well, and here's another like red flag under that red flag. If they can like receive criticism from you to this point, like if they're going to get crazy about it.
Well, that could be a red flag, but again, I think that's something that people can curb for a moment. But I think that, again, that's why it's important. You're not dating for just a couple days. You got to spend some time with this person in the real world and see how they're responding with people around them, family, friends, how they're interacting with their mom and their dad. Like all that is telltale signs, which you can pick up a lot of good information to help you make an informed decision about getting married or not.
That brings to mind some other red flags that are probably, I don't know if they're listed on here or not.
You're going to jump the gun, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, you know, how a person speaks about their parents to you. It's in there.
I think so.
I'm just going to say, because that's one that comes to mind with, you know, when we talk to our young kids, talking about when they date in the future or whatever. Like, this is huge. Because a lot of kids, you know, have gripes with their parents and they start talking like, oh,
nasty.
Yeah, not
disrespectful,
cool.
Not good. So number 3, babe, read that one.
They always have to get their way. We read that one. We're not number 3. We're number 4.
Let's go to 4 then.
They worship themselves. Oh my, that's like super this era for a lot of people.
This is for all you folks that are with your selfies. Does this person that you're dating believe they are the center of the universe and everyone and everything should orbit around them? I love how this is written.
God.
This article is awesome. Think about it, because it says, sooner or later you're going to realize this relationship is all about them.
Oh, geez.
And in marriage, selfishness does not.
It doesn't work.
Well, it doesn't work. It's not going to bring you into a good relationship.
No.
Selflessness is what you want in a relationship. And again, if they're having trouble with this on the front side, it will get magnified after you say I do. It's something...
I don't care how pretty or awesome or beautiful they are. If this is what they're doing, red flags.
Yeah, big time. Number 5, I'm going to share this one because I love the way they wrote it. That they are a spiritual dud. They're a spiritual dud. In essence, if you put God first in your life, which we hope that you do, right? And you want to have a godly relationship, you want to make sure that person that you're dating is actually walking it out prior to the day that you're going to get married.
Oh, man, this is such a scary one because some people that go out in search of a mate and are looking for, you know, I want a Christian. I'm going to speak from a woman's perspective. I want a Christian man, somebody who's, you know, going to be a great godly leader, God-fearing. And then you meet somebody that says they're a Christian, maybe goes to church. However, they're not really producing good fruit in the day-to-day. And you start to see, like, and you can tell by how they talk about people, again, how they speak, how are they carrying themselves, how they serve others. Like, you'll be able to tell this real quick because people can't hide this stuff. So...
Well, again, the Bible has a lot of direction as far as this goes. You know, the one talking about unequally yoked in 2 Corinthians 6:14. Like, it literally says, don't be unequally yoked. It's telling you that because, listen, as awesome as you are, you're not little baby Jesus.
Right.
You are not going to convert this person. Not that you can have influence.
Right.
But you want a person that's walking alongside you, not someone that you're having to drag along with you. Now, that being said, if you're already married
Right.
Bible says you're in it. And they can be influenced by your godly nature.
Correct.
That's what it says. So don't get mad at me.
Don't get it twisted.
Take it to God and pray about that. But he's literally saying, like, don't get yourself in that situation. But if you've already done it, which a lot of people have, do what God's calling you to do in that moment.
Right.
Because your godly impact,
right,
the way you talk, the way you speak, the way you interact with one another, can help lead them to a relationship with God.
Yes.
So catch it on the front side before you have to clean it up on the back side. Number 6. I'm sorry, get something else?
No, I was going to go to number 6.
Go for it.
They are tangled in apron strings.
Was this? I think this is what we're reading with our devotion today, wasn't it? Wasn't it talking about
yes,
basically, the one that can't leave
leaving
the nest?
and cleaving?
Yeah, the whole leaving part that gets stuck there because they're glued to their parents.
Yeah.
Talk on it. It's a red flag. And we see this a lot in relationships.
We do.
I mean, in counseling.
We do, and it's interesting when you see it with a Christian couple. Because this is one of those foundational things. Like, you leave your father and mother to cleave to your spouse.
Yes. Your wife.
To your wife. So I understand why some people don't know how to do it. Right? Like, okay, yes, your parents were your primary at the beginning, but once you meet your spouse and you guys are joined in marriage, now this person is your primary. Not that you dishonor or disrespect your parents, not that they're less important, they're just not the primary person in your life anymore. Now your priority is your spouse, and they only come second to God.
And the good thing I like about this, again, is in Genesis 2:24, God gave instructions to the man and woman to leave their parents.
Right.
And there's for a reason there, because he knew this is going to be difficult for people, right? Because you can't be still attached to them to such a degree where it may be emotionally, physically, financially, you name it, and still have that oneness that you need in your relationship. It's going to prevent that unity that you're going to desire in your relationship. And again, if you see these red flags on the front side, these are things you can work through and people can learn and grow through. So when you get married, it's not such a difficult transition.
It's interesting because that verse, it says, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife.
Yes.
And they will become one flesh. I wonder why God didn't say, and a woman will leave her father and mother and cleave to her husband.
I definitely think that's a study we need to look at.
For sure.
I think it's something. I'm glad you pointed that out.
So,
number
moving on.
7, they have mommy or daddy issues.
Yep.
Talk to me.
Definitely something that can be uncovered in many of the conversations you have when you're dating. Start talking about your family of origin. Ask questions about that person's family of origin. Hey, where are you from? People ask that all the time, right?
Yeah.
How did you grow up? Like, what was the dynamic in your home? Like, what was your relationship with your mom, with your dad? I know this isn't, of course, we're counselors, so we're thinking like a counselor. However, great questions to ask people to find out more.
I don't know why people wouldn't ask those questions. And again, you don't think about this kind of stuff when you're dating, but it's definitely something I think people should do more of.
Yep.
Because it's going to help pull back the curtain a little bit on this person that you're potentially going to want to marry.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember, anything that has happened with them in the relationship has a tendency to get drawn into your marriage. And again, if you can alleviate some of this stuff on the front side and work through and grow through some of this stuff, it's going to help you guys on the backside.
I like how I'm going to have to read some of this under number 7 there, because he says, having issues with our parents is common, but we have to get over them.
Yep.
And this person, Stephen Arterburn, puts it in this way. It's your job to get over your mom or dad. Avoid dating anyone who's looking for you to parent them. Instead, seek someone who has healed from their past issues and has a lot to bring to the table.
That's good.
It is very good, because if you do uncover some stuff, and a lot of people have, issues that stem from their family of origin, maybe recommend going to some type of counseling before you guys decide to say I do.
And again, guys, going to a counselor doesn't mean that you're weak or, there's something really wrong with you. It's just saying, hey, I want this relationship to be successful, and I'm going to do all I can do and work it on the front side. So I'm the healthiest I can be when I come to the altar.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like training for anything, right?
Is.
Like when you're training for a sport, you go find a coach. Why would you not go find a coach to help you in your relationship to set you up at your best for marriage. Like,
Right,
I
right.
think that's a no-brainer.
I think that's awesome. I think more people should do that. So number 8, they are a ticking time bomb. So it says we all struggle with anger from time to time, but someone who can't control their anger is a red flag person, and their anger could blow up in your face.
Mm,
And again, that's why I say you got to kind of spend time with people.
yeah.
Get them in the real world. Get them in real situations where they're having to interact with others, and see if there's any of these flags there. Like, think about it this way: it's this one that's pretty common, and in the beginning of the relationship, I think you can do pretty good, but over time, it's gonna start peeking through. Riding down the highway, people are cutting off, slowing down in front of you. You know that whole
You mean like road rage?
that road rage kind of thing. That's a pretty common thing with a lot of people. But you can identify that and see how that person handles those situations. And again, this is not a one and done. You got to do some research with this in these moments in these situations.
Well, that's why dating or courting, as we would call it, right?
Yeah.
Courting, because that's more serious. Like you're courting this person because you're thinking about marriage.
Yes.
It's important that it describes a ticking time bomb as anyone who is physically or verbally abusive.
Mm.
I don't know about y'all, but of course I'm married to a wonderful man. But had I been dating someone and they put hands on me,
Well, no, that's a no-go right off the bat.
like, no, you got to think highly of yourself. You deserve better.
Mm.
And furthermore, if you're dating someone that is not talking to you right,
It's a red flag.
yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
again, thinking about it, you're dating this person and they're speaking to you a certain kind of way. Why would you think once you get married,
It's going to get better.
it's going to get better?
Mm.
Chances are it is going to get worse. That's why you got to address the stuff on the front side.
I love how it says date someone who can forgive others, themselves, and you.
That's good. Forgiveness is huge.
Super huge.
Huge, especially in marriage because we're forgiving each other daily. Number 9, they put off the chart. I'm sorry, they have off the chart fears. I don't know what the heck I was looking at.
Probably
They have-
irrational fears.
They have off the chart fears. Yep.
Yeah.
And this is like huge, profound fears.
Mm.
Life altering kind of fears.
Irrational fears that
Yeah.
kind of
Unhealthy
overtake you.
fears. Unhealthy fears.
Yeah.
Then we're not talking like, oh, I'm, a little bit scared of this. No, this is like fears that are can cripple someone.
Mm-hmm.
And again, these are just things to watch out for, red flags, to recognize if it's this big of a problem on the front side, it is going to impact your marriage on the back side.
Well, here they give a few examples of unhealthy fears.
Go for it.
They can manifest as a fear of not being loved, a fear of failure, fear of what people think about them. That's a huge one.
Mm.
And fear of germs or other paranoias like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Fear of
Because
germs.
there's
I'm not laughing about it. I'm just thinking about how that would look like in marriage if you don't want to touch your spouse because you think they're
dirty.
infected or something. That would not be fun. I mean, I would think. I don't know.
Well, honestly, you need to look for a person that's secure, confident, and fully trust in the Lord.
That's awesome. Where do you find those people at? I'm joking, but I mean, like,
You have to
is it worth
Be-
the hunt?
be mindful. Be mindful with the dating
Yes.
that you're doing.
You
Keep
feel like
these-
you're wrapping it up. We got one more point we got to talk about.
Well, no, I just wanted to say be mindful because these are like, some people might brush some of this stuff off as cute or, oh, that's funny that you're afraid of that. But if it's something that completely cripples somebody,
That's a big deal.
you might want to deal with that.
Yeah, definitely need to get some help. And number 10, and this is a big one, I think, in relationships. They don't connect on an emotional level. They don't connect on an emotional level. And we see this a lot. I'm just being honest. Because, again, stuff that's happened in people's lives, maybe even past relationships, it's altered the ability to connect with their spouse or to connect with another person in a healthy way.
Well, some people are afraid to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Like vulnerability sounds super scary to them.
Yeah. Yep.
So they kind of guard themselves fully
Mhm.
from from sharing.
If they're emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
Think about how that looks. Like, that doesn't work in a marriage with someone that is emotionally unavailable.
Emotional immaturity is a huge thing
Well,
to
then-
look for.
And then there's that one as well.
Mhm.
And again, these are all things to be on the lookout for. And this is not saying everybody's going to have all these things.
Right.
And even if you have one or two of them, this doesn't say, okay, I can't marry him. But what it is saying, you have to address them in a healthy way, knowing these are going to be things that are going to come up in your relationship and in
Right.
your marriage if you guys decide to take that step.
For sure.
So, great list. I mean,
Yeah.
as we're reading through this, and I know when we shared it a couple days ago to each other, we're like, "Oh, this is really good. We should talk about that."
Where'd you get the article from?
That's a great question. Can you flip up to that? Because I don't want to lose the whole
New
screen.
Life. I guess you found it on New Life, and it says 10 red flag people to avoid dating and marrying.
Okay. It says avoid. Okay, that's pretty
To
straightforward.
avoid, yeah. That's a title.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
hey man, maybe you're a trooper. Maybe you're like, hey, I can do it all.
Listen, one of the things that I would advise anyone who's trying to hit the dating scene, you need to pray.
Oh, for sure, man.
You need to pray for God's covering, for God to give you eyes to see and ears to hear, and a heart that's discerning.
Yeah. So I just want to touch on all these again because they're super good, and I want to leave everybody with a thought on them. Number 1, they're too good to be true. Red flag. Number 2, they consume vast quantities of something. Number 3, they always have to get their way. Number 4, they worship themselves. Sorry, I laugh every time I read that. Number 5, they are a spiritual dud. I'm going to read number 6 through 10, baby.
They are tangled in apron strings.
Number 6.
Number 7, they have mommy or daddy issues. Number 8, they are a ticking time bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, they have off-the-charts fears. And number 10, they don't connect on an emotional level.
Yeah, guys, so these are 10 red flags to watch out for. And listen, there are so many more.
I was going to say, these aren't the only red flags, but these are some top ones to look for.
Mm-hmm.
So just have awareness
Yeah.
for who you're going out with.
And we're going to put the link in the podcast in the description so you can go there and click on this yourself to look at it, because there's little things written under all these that we didn't really talk about or discuss, but definitely something, again, to learn and grow. If you're thinking about getting married, marriage doesn't start just at the altar once you say I do. Marriage starts way before that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can start putting things into practice, which helps set you up for success.
Absolutely.
To be the healthiest person you can be, first, to honor God with this marriage, but also honor your spouse, the one that he's bringing into your life.
Absolutely. You can't afford not to put in the work on the front side.
Mm-hmm.
You can't afford that, because we've definitely seen the outcome of people that don't take the time to have a proper courtship time and ask the right questions.